Well, good morning. I decided to take an opportunity to kind of revisit some of the recipes that my dad put on the channel. And one of the things he really enjoyed making was peach cobbler. And there's several other videos on the channel. One's about making peach cobbler for one person in a mug. There's another one about making peach cobbler, and he didn't have peaches, so he used canned fruit. And he also used a Jiffy cake mix box, which is pretty much the way my dad loved to cook. So I've decided to show you another way in case you don't happen to have a Jiffy cake mix. And when it comes to making peach cobbler, there's 1,000 ways to do it. All you have to do is search around on the internet and you'll certainly find them. And the first thing that we're going to need is a 9x13 baking sheet, or excuse me, a baking pan, and 1 stick of butter. I call this recipe kind of the 1-1-1-1-1 recipe for peach cobbler. You'll see why. And the first one is the stick of butter. And the first thing you do is stick it in the oven so that you can get it melted down. Now, while that's melting, we go into the rest of the ones. We're just going to need a little mixing bowl. And this recipe is so easy that if you don't know how to bake, you can do it and impress everybody by making them think that you can bake. The first one that we need is 1 cup of self-rising flour. Now, if you have all-purpose flour, you can convert that into self-rising by adding 1 tablespoon of baking powder and a little bit of salt. Those ingredients will be put in the comments below. The second one is 1 cup of sugar. Combine that, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now we'll stir those together. And the last one ingredient that we need here is 1 cup of milk. I'd recommend that you use whole milk. And just pour it in. And into this wet ingredient, we also need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So we'll put that in for some of the additional flavor. Then all you have to do is stir it up. Just incorporate the milk into the flour. And this is the batter. You know, there's a lot of people that make peach cobbler in different ways. Some like to have pie crust on the bottom, pie crust on the top, and as far as I'm concerned, that's just peach pie. Or other people like to have a very cake-like type of dough inside. And to me, that's too cakey. So I like something right in between, which has a little crust with it and some goo and the peaches mixed in. And this batter looks awfully thin, but don't worry about it. That's exactly how thin it's supposed to be. It also has some lumps in it, and you don't even have to worry about the lumps. All you have to do is just stir it all together, and then we'll be adding it to the butter whenever it melts, and also adding in the peaches so that we can bake it. There, perfect. Okay, let's get the butter out of the pan. Okay, the butter's all melted. Make sure it covers the bottom of the pan. And all we have to do is just pour in this batter so that it covers the bottom. Get all of that out of there. And now, simply distribute your peaches. These are sliced peaches in heavy syrup. They come in cans, usually 28, 29, 30 ounces right in there. Just depends on who makes them. And we'll get this out and just make sure that you use the syrup with it. Start to pour out the peaches and get them distributed. You don't want to have cobbler without peaches in some of these areas, and get them around. And that's all you have to do. Just put these things in all the corners. You have successfully made peach cobbler. Now before we put it into the oven, one last thing. This is optional. I'm going to take just a little bit more cinnamon. Sprinkle some cinnamon across the top. Like that. And also sprinkle just a little bit more sugar across the top, because after the 1 cup of sugar and the heavy syrup, it's just probably not sweet enough. There we go. Now we'll pop this in the oven for 50 minutes at 350 degrees and see what we have accomplished. Well, this is going to be done in just a minute, and I think my dad would like for you to have a story. As you noticed, he tells a story in almost every video. And the story that he told me many years ago was about his mother, who unfortunately passed when I was just a little kid, didn't know her very well. And it involves her pie making ability, because he said she could make a pie out of anything that would fit between 2 crusts. And one day he went over to visit her and she said, "Oh, I just finished an apple pie. Would you like a slice?" Well, of course he had to say yes. And he took 1 bite of it and just about gagged. And he said, "Just a minute." And he went into the kitchen where she had made the pie, and sitting on top of the counter was a bottle, and it didn't happen to be cinnamon. It was actually ground dried mustard, which explained the bad taste on the pie. So he put it back on the pan and said that he had had plenty. And a few minutes later, his Uncle Rex came over, and Uncle Rex was pretty old at that point, had no taste buds whatsoever, barely see, cataracts. And he said, "Rex, would you like a slice of pie?" Thinking he was going to play a joke on Rex. "Oh yes, I'd love one," Rex said. So he sliced them up, gave it to him, and Rex ate it down and said it's the best pie he'd ever had. And so my dad just said, "Well, you know what? If you like it that much, we're just going to send you home with all the rest of it." Well, I think it's about done. Let me go and check this cobbler. Okay, let's take a look at what this cobbler looks like. And as my dad would say, "Ooh, that looks good." You can see the crust has come up and the peaches are showing through. Let's let this cool down for about 15 minutes and see what it looks like on the underside. Okay, let's dish some of this up. Corner is always good. And this is the gooey nature that I like. It is right in between the crust type of peach cobbler and the cake type. I guarantee this is a real crowd pleaser. And when you get done with it, if you have vanilla ice cream, by all means put in a scoop. If not, just pour in a little bit of milk. When I was growing up, it seemed like we never had ice cream in the house. but we always had milk. Hope you enjoyed this, and I think my dad would like the fact that there's a new video for his YouTube family to watch. Thanks, and God bless Texas.